Well, welcome everyone. Very excited to see you. And I don't know why it feels like forever since we've had a call, and I don't think it has been forever, but it feels like it. Feels like it to me. So I want to welcome you to the Foundation for Conscious Living Big Leap Home community. And my name is Michelle Yasuda, if you don't know me yet, and I'm the program director for the Big Leap Home online programs. And these programs support individuals, organizations, and community and in generating agency, connection, and creativity on our shared planet. And this call that you're on tonight is one of the ways that we do this already. So let's see. So the last thing I want to do before I turn the call over is I want to invite you into a commitment. So when you listen to these words, notice how they land in your body. I invite you to notice that. So we find that learning works best when we choose to bring curiosity, openness to learning, and appreciation of ourselves and others into the space. So now I have the great pleasure of turning this call over to Jody Kaylor. And before I do that, I want to do what we always do in our Big Leap Bridge before is to have an opportunity to appreciate our facilitator. And Jody is really special to me. I'm lucky enough to live only about an hour away from her. And even though we don't see each other as often as I would like, I just love knowing that we're close by. And Jody, one of the things that I super appreciate about you is your impeccable integrity. That's what I experience. And then I see you smile and I think, and your sense of humor and your way of bringing playfulness into any space that you're in. So I so appreciate that. Very masterful in the area of integrity. And I also got recently got to experience the magic of Jody and what she's going to be sharing a little bit about tonight. And I want to say I highly recommend Jody as someone to work with in this world. So if you get excited tonight and you think, oh, this was really cool, definitely get in touch with her because I experienced a truly magical shift in my energy after having a session with her. And I'm still having the effects of it. And I haven't even shared that with you, Jody, how much it's been rippling for me. So super appreciating you. Yeah. So I want to go ahead and turn the call over to you. And I'm excited to see what we're going to learn tonight.
Good. Well, thank you, Michelle, and welcome everyone. I look forward to sharing some information with you and inviting you to think and explore and wonder, and then sending you off with new possibilities. First, though, I'd love to hear from you in the chat section if you're willing. Let us know what brought you here and what you might be hoping to learn or leave with, if you feel like putting something in there. It's always fun to get an idea of what you're hoping for. Okay. I don't see anything coming in. Woo. Oh, Linda Wellenbach. Okay, you're here. And Darlene. Oh. Yay. All right, great. Thank you for your willingness to do that. So as advertised, we're looking at 4 points. What is inner knowing? Oh, that's Michelle. Do I have it? Why would I want to have access to it? And how can I reclaim and trust it? Plus, I'll guide you in a couple of experiential exercises. Well, thank you, Kim. I see what you've written. If you have questions as we go along, please do type those 3 question marks in front of your questions so we can identify them more easily and aim to answer them at some point on the call. Okay, so are you willing to know that inner knowing is a thing and that you might have it already and that it could become easy and even save your life? Let's get started. What is inner knowing? You might call it intuition, a gut feeling, or a spidey sense. I think of inner knowing as the meeting of the conscious and non-conscious parts of ourselves, where information is already available or it could be sought out. There's experience and feeling and certainty, a kind of arrival at a level of knowing that you accept and are willing to act on if that's what's called for. It doesn't exclude rational thinking. And in fact, rational thinking is not the opposite of landing on your knowing. They can work really well together. As Albert Einstein once said, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We've created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. So we're here to remember that gift. When he says servant, I would say the rational mind is a tool. It's not the one I would put completely in charge. The gift he refers to is that knowing that is available to anyone who is open to it. Think about when you look at a menu and you've narrowed down your choice to maybe two options, a chicken or the fish. Where do you go to make that decision? How do you get there? And how do you get to the place of accepting your decision with certainty? You probably haven't broken down those steps. You just know. Or you don't know and you give up and pick something. I invite you to play with those steps so as to better understand your own process. There are so many intriguing stories about inner knowing in humans, yet also consider these animal examples like the cat at an elder care facility that by going and sitting with a patient could indicate that that person is likely to die very soon or not. The cat would then hop off the bed, move on to the next person to check. And do you remember when there was that tsunami in 2004 in the Indian Ocean? It hit about 18 countries. Well, when that happened, before it happened, wild and domestic animals seemed to sense it and they fled to safety. According to eyewitnesses, elephants screamed and ran for high ground, and dogs wouldn't go outside. Zoo animals went for their containers and would not come out. Now that is some clear inner knowing, which is part of natural intelligence. And you are nothing but natural intelligence, unbelievable intelligence that knows how to circulate blood and oxygen and digest and grow fingernails and see and smell and grow hair of different colors. All these parts are in constant communication with each other in a language we are not consciously aware of, and yet it's happening. Meanwhile, you may have come to live with a certain internal language that is yours alone, and you may be consciously aware of it, or perhaps unconsciously aware, like those animals. We're here to talk about the possibility of expanding on that and adding some new tools or methods. So number 2, do I have it? Well, do you ever get a gut feeling, a funny feeling, a bad feeling, or a really bad feeling about something or someone? Have you ever said, I was just thinking about you when somebody calls you? Or get something like goosebumps whenever you hear something that feels exciting as a yes or a no, or whatever the physical sensation is and whatever that means for you. Those are some of the ways that we use to communicate with ourselves. Perhaps you have seen my Step On It video on YouTube where I talk about some of my own internal language and I demonstrate a decision-making process that I made up about 20 years ago or so. I think we'll put a link to that in the chat. Forbes says it's no accident that we use the term intuition and gut feeling interchangeably, because science has now shown that our gut has a brain of its own. In fact, our gut has an entire network of neurotransmitters called the enteric nervous system. This ENS has 100 million nerve cells lining your GI tract from the esophagus on down, and it communicates back and forth with the brain. And then there's the heart. I've heard that it has more brain cells than the brain, the head brain. And some say it's the biggest of the three brains, head, heart, and gut. Knowing is not necessarily about thinking and reasoning alone. And the heart has a huge influence on our perceptions, emotional experiences, and higher mental processes. Get this, the heart can sense your emotional response to an event before the event has even occurred. It has its own intrinsic nervous system, sending more information to the head brain than that brain sends to the heart. The body and your subconscious know things, and usually before the conscious mind does. Just like the animals that had yet to see evidence of the tsunami, yet they were reacting to it. We have about 37 or more than that trillion cells in our bodies, and those cells are made of atoms. Atoms are 99.9999, etc. % empty space. So we are space. And Michelle, if you could put up that first meme. I just learned something about that that really surprised me. So let's look at that meme. If you removed the empty space from all of the atoms of all people, the entire human race could fit in the volume of a sugar cube. I think that's incredible. So add to that the concepts in this next meme. We are all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, to the rest of the universe atomically. Not only are we in the universe is in us, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. All right, thanks, Michelle. As you might have been hearing for some years now, we are made of stardust. We are the infinitesimal speck and the infinite. We are here and everywhere. So take a breath with me, if you would, into the vast spaciousness that you are. As Albert Einstein said, our separation from each other is an optical illusion. When something vibrates, the electrons of the entire universe resonate with it. Everything is connected. The greatest tragedy of human existence is the illusion of separateness. And those 37 trillion cells I mentioned, well, according to cell biologist Bruce Lipton, author of The Biology of Belief, those cells can do only two things: protect or grow. And they can't do both at once. So Michelle, would you put up the next meme? It speaks to that with Bruce Lipton's quote, "The moment you change your perception is the moment you rewrite the chemistry of your body." Protect or grow, contract or expand. And there are so many ways to change your perception. This meme demonstrates two different perceptions and what they do within the body. Thanks, Michelle. We can move that off. Bruce Lipton also says, the profound conclusion of quantum physics reveals that the material world that we experience is simply an illusion of our consciousness. The universe is just made out of energy. Also, your belief carries more power than your reality. Your belief and your thoughts about what's so carry more power than your seeming reality. And we often get so tied up with this is happening and it's real, but maybe it's an illusion. I learned a couple of things in recent months. One is that when scientists look at human skin under a microscope, there's no clear demarcation the way that we think we see it. Despite what we think we see with our eyes, our edges are more a vibration than an ending and a beginning. And the second thing is that skin radiates light. That's bioluminescence, or the emission of light by a living organism. They can see it, our inherent empty space, and the light that runs through us in the form of the light-filled fascia tubules that hold us together internally. So Michelle, let's look at this photo of Bruce Lipton that was taken last week. It just went up a few days ago. It's taken by somebody in the audience who was watching him speak. And the most remarkable thing is that there were no special effects and no spotlight overhead. So we are information highways of light and space, and you can see it in Bruce. It's easier to see in this photo of Bruce than it is to see in the average person sitting next to you. So yeah, thank you, Michelle. You can take that away. You have access to your inner knowing. How might this information come to you? Well, you might see it like a clairvoyant, which means clear seeing, or hear it, that's clairaudience. You could feel it, and that's called clairsentience, or just simply know in a matter-of-fact way, and that's claircognizance. So here's what I mean. It was about 40 years ago, I think. I was watching the news and Bob Dole was being mentioned because he was running for president at the time. I had no conscious thoughts about it. I was sitting there with a neutral mind, and all of a sudden I heard, that man will never be president. It was almost like there was a ghost sitting there watching with me commenting, and I thought, okay, whatever. And of course, that turned out to be true. Something similar happened in 2007 when a friend and I were on a plane, and all of a sudden I heard, your husband doesn't want to do that anymore, something that it was affecting all of us. And she didn't know that, but turned out to be true. And I wasn't thinking about it, it just came in. So those are some examples of hearing information. Has anybody here gotten unsolicited information like that? Yeah, so yes, it's happening for some of you already. I used to, back in the 60s and 70s, when I would write letters, I would think of my grandmother, and the next day a letter would arrive. So that was another form of, the information was in the air, and I got the message. So some of your own examples might be coming up for you, or you might remember some in the days to come. And if you don't have any, don't worry, we'll try something out and we'll see what happens for you today. So why cultivate inner knowing? At the least, it can help you choose your meal. At the most, it can save your life. And of course, all sorts of things in between, like, should I vote yes or no on Prop 29? When voting season rolls around, some of my choices are clear and some aren't. And I can gather some information from my brain, or I can tune in and pluck my decision out of my knowing with certainty. In developing my way of knowing and communicating with myself, I've strengthened my relationship with myself. I save time and sometimes cut out certain educational requirements. So if you're able to come to a place of neutrality, which happens over time, put aside what people you care about think or what information is flying around the internet, you might be able to know, for example, if you want to get a particular vaccine. For me, that means I never get a flu vaccine. I don't want the shingles vaccine, but I did get the COVID vaccine and booster. And so far, I'm not sure about the bivalent booster, all based on my inner knowing. Minimal research is required when I know what's true for me by checking in with an open, neutral mind. I can make decisions on supplements or whether I want to go on a second date, and how would I do my research anyway when it comes to love? And what do I mean when I say it could save your life or the lives of others? Here are a couple of examples. Recently, a friend recounted the experience of a man who works on her farm. He was out in nature on another property, and he was urinating under a tree. He had suddenly this impulse arise to get inside, and he just immediately started moving and walking while still urinating. A moment later, a big branch fell from the tree he was under right on the spot where he was standing. And from my own experience, back when I was still living in Austin, I was driving home to my suburban house neighborhood, and I tend to drive pretty fast. I was coming off of a relatively busy street, and about a block and a half away, I started noticing that I was driving relatively slowly. And I was aware to observe, and I noticed it and said, I notice I'm driving slowly. And I came around this way, and on my street, there were a couple of vans, so taller vehicles blocking the view. As I came around, there were 3 boys playing in the street not far from the corner that I couldn't see. And my conscious mind could not have known to take it easy and be careful and drive slowly. So it was very poor judgment on their part, but that's no consolation if a bunch of lives are destroyed in the process. So if I had been all riled up about some argument in the past and in a blind rage, or stirred up thinking about something that's coming up in the future, that could have taken me far out of my presence and ended up really differently. Be here now. You may have heard of that book title, or The Power of Now, another book. Presence is where it's at, so to speak. It's where and when everything happens. It's one important part of being available for inner knowing. Not just conscious answers, but the beckoning from your subconscious, as with these 2 examples. What I'm doing so far is laying a foundation for possibilities and choices, and to think about who and what you really are. The choice of self-awareness and curiosity and the possibilities that come with experiential attention. Like preparing a meal starts with knowing what's in the refrigerator. I'd also like to remind you that once this video gets posted, you can replay it as many times as you would like. You can pause and think, or you can go to particular segments, take notes, or let it wash over you. I want to get a good amount of content here for you to work with right now and to play with at your leisure. So at this point, having mentioned presence, I'd like to speak about that a bit. I want to have you try on a few things so as to experience it before we go into a larger exploration. We can get so caught up in the day and what's happening in the world, and we can go into the past or the future in our minds, and then we are not present in the current moment. I like to be where life is happening, here and now. I'm open to the idea that everything is happening all at once, because some people talk about that, and that may be true. I don't have an idea, but at this point, it's about attention. So imagine that the past is here, the present is here, and the future is over there. I love this quote by Eckhart Tolle because it says it so well. The past cannot survive in your presence. It can only survive in your absence if you go there and leave your presence. And we do get caught up thinking a lot about the past, don't we? So here are some ways to return to presence. This is where I'd like to have you close your eyes and get comfortable, just to try on a few things. We'll do a taster and then a deeper exploration a bit later. Start with breathing. Take a long, slow, deep breath, letting your belly drop forward. Slow count of 4 to 5 on the in-breath and the out-breath. Let that breath find its way throughout your body. opening up places that may be tense, and add to that some micro movements so that whatever is stuck or clenched begins to open. Your whole system is breathing and moving. And now add one of my favorite tools, the audible I like to circulate it around the top of my head and then all the way down to my feet like a candy cane. That physiologically takes you out of reactive brain and into the creative brain where new solutions can be found. Empty your mind. One great way to do that, because it's easy to say stop thinking, harder to do. One way that I've always liked is to use my senses. What do you smell right now? Maybe you've got some food cooking or a smelly dog sitting next to you. So can you smell anything? Notice what that is. Touch something like fabric that you're wearing or sitting on, or your skin. Notice the feeling of touching. What can you hear? And has using these senses taken away from your thinking mind, things that you might have been worrying about? Breathe, move, sense. When you change your breathing in your body or your perception, you change your state of being. And it's always available to you. I like to say nap, and I don't mean sleep. I mean neutrality, awareness, and presence. You can open your eyes for a moment if you'd like. We'll be closing them again soon. But I wanted to tell you about one of my favorite tools, and I call it the flip switch. And that is, I can pick a different body part every morning and have that be the flip switch of the day. So that if I notice I'm ruminating, I'm going on and around in my brain, and I don't want to be doing that, especially if it's negative thinking, I will call upon the flip switch. So pick a different body part every day. Let's imagine it's fingers today. So I will say, thank you, fingers. You are doing a great job. You allow me to type and point and wear rings and caress skin. Thank you, fingers. You're doing a great job. And your body loves to hear that it's doing a great job. It is here just for you. Perhaps the secret of life is to be completely engaged with it in the heres and nows, because again, that's where life happens. Maybe you too have had the experience of reading a paragraph over and over because your mind starts thinking of something else and you leave presence. Or you're driving a familiar route, maybe a commuter route, and you suddenly wake up to the fact that you don't remember passing these familiar landmarks that you're used to seeing. You had left presence. So take a deep breath and feel your spaciousness, the breath and the movement through your body and beyond it. And I would like to check in to see if we have any questions at this point. A speed trap. Oh, I see. A speed trap like a police officer. I'm looking at this question in the chat. Yes. Yes, exactly. So this is your way of recognizing your inner knowing. And you're welcome, Rhonda. So the fourth point, how do I reclaim and trust this inner knowing? In short, experiment and keep playing with it until you recognize your own language and your signals that give you a track record over time, and then play some more. But let's try it on. So let's do an exploratory guided meditation to see if you can notice some of your own signals and your own language. You might want to keep pen and paper handy in case you want to take any notes for yourself. All right, you beings of stardust and space, get comfortable. Close your eyes. Breathe, move. Come back to presence and place your attention behind your eyes and between your ears. The center of your head can be a wonderful place of neutrality, a place where you can put your attention and be there. And let's start with a basic opening and closing feeling. With your breath moving throughout your body relaxed into the micro movements, and you can never do too many. So if you'd like to do another one, start by imagining a person that you love and feel good about being with. Do you feel that opening, that pleasurable yes experience? What do you notice about it? Now imagine a person you know you do not appreciate, perhaps a particular politician or somebody you know in person. What do you notice about that closing, that no experience? Notice everything you notice. No breath, expansion, contraction, a thought, a memory, a dog barking, or maybe the phone rings. Notice all your noticings. Now let's do that with a food you know you love. What do you notice about any opening or yes experience when you think about that food? Now imagine a food you have an aversion to. What do you notice when you think about that? Do you have some sort of closing or no, or what happens? Do you have a decision that you're trying to make? What happens when you try on your different options? This is the start of becoming aware of your signals and way of communicating internally. It's your inner knowing. And now let's try on a few thoughts. As you know, we have conscious thoughts and thoughts that are not in our conscious awareness, and they affect our perception, our atoms, and how we operate in the world. I'll make some statements, and I'll ask you to try them on to see how you relate to them. Perhaps with an expansive yes, a closing no, or whatever it is you might notice. A person, a memory, a situation. Just notice your noticings. What happens when I say, no pain, no gain? Or there are no free lunches. You must work hard for everything you get in life. What happens with all is well all the time, regardless of how things appear. You can't get it wrong or make a mistake. There's a right way or a right answer, and I've got to find it. I'm connected with all that is. Money doesn't grow on trees. I'm willing to develop my own inner knowing and be my own source of certainty. I'm willing to acknowledge what is so. There's no benefit to arguing with reality. So what happens? What do you notice when you imagine resisting the present moment? Do you feel your cells going into that protection mode? Can you invite your cells into growth mode with the idea of accepting the present moment as simply being what's so right now? And would you be able to describe what you notice with that process of choosing an expanded opening? Find that neutrality, awareness, and presence within. That and wonder what sounds more comfortable as a way of life, being stressed and distracted and tense and fearful, or living in a neutral state of awareness, presence, and knowingness. So you're welcome to open your eyes if you like. I wanted to comment about trusting your inner knowing as you develop this relationship with yourself. So I invite you to nap your way through life, the NAP, neutrality, awareness, and presence. Don't rely solely or mostly on external information, the outside world, or other people. Develop a track record with yourself so that your internal language becomes reliable and clear. And to do that, start asking yourself about everything: what to eat, which direction to take on a walk, whether to see that movie, and notice everything you notice, especially patterns that repeat. You can watch that 7-minute Step On It video that I made that has, we've linked in the chat, or it's available on, if you've come later on, it's on YouTube under my name. It's called Step On It, 7-minute decision-making awareness language video. Do we have any burning questions at this point before I say a little bit more? Oh, there it is. Okay.
You can just raise your hand if you'd like to, your electronic hand, if you have a question.
Hi, Kim.
Hey, Jody, I have a question just about this idea of neutrality.
Yeah.
If you could speak more about that. My gut tells me that seems about, non-judgment and accepting the moment as it is. But as we just did that previous exercise, what I noticed when you said the different phrases, like when you said like money doesn't grow on trees, I noticed a lot of energy moved up into my head, you know. And then when you said other ones, like I am connected to all that is, I felt this expansiveness. And so would you say neutrality is just witnessing and noticing that, not judging it? Or did you want to say more about that?
It is, we all have some filters through which we see things, people, the world, right? And so it is awareness that you might have some filters on your vision, and it's an awareness of not prejudging or predetermining that, oh, it would be good if I got this job. It would be bad if I got fired. Well, those that may not be true. Either one of those things. And so it is an openness to what is. It is an acceptance of reality as it's presenting itself, because it's already so. And yeah, it doesn't have that charge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it feels like. It feels like grounded and expansive. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's that it's raining. One person might say, oh, that's terrible.
Right.
And have that, it's like that meme with two people looking at the bee, and one person was in, I'm scared, that's poisonous. And the other one was in, oh, thank you, you're making honey. And yeah, same thing, two different perceptions. Can you make your perception the most neutral, not charged?
Yeah. And it sounds like kind of almost neutrality would be welcoming both of those perceptions with the bee, of just like, yeah. And both of those. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're
So I often resist resistance, I noticed. Yeah. Oh, this is Stephen. Yeah.
Hello again.
I want to add something, or not add something to that, but I guess ask something about that too. While you're talking about neutrality, it just makes me wonder about, what if your predilection is to, or your propensity, maybe a better word, is to make things really positive, that wouldn't be neutral either then, right? I'm like, where does a positive mindset fit in with the neutrality idea, or does it conflict with it? I guess I'm just, is there a wisdom to a letting go of positivity around situations too, to replace with neutrality? Just thoughts around that concept.
I think it depends on what you mean by positivity. But for example, to make an extreme example, if somebody punched me in the face and I say, wow, you've got a great left hook, or that's okay, that would be perhaps a persona. That would be someone who is not in the essence of herself. Yeah. And honoring what the true feeling, what's really going on, a true feeling that's happening. So it could be glossing over something and covering up your essence or your truth. So positivity is a very global word for what could be any number of things.
Yeah. No, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Cool. I'll put my hand down.
You're welcome. Okay, so no other questions right now. Okay, well, I wanted to say, I wanted to share something now that you've had your own experience. I want to talk a little bit about what my process has been. And while I'm a practicing clairvoyant healer now, and I did have glimpses of my awareness of inner knowing when I was young, it was a long road in between. But I do remember when I started playing with my inner knowing signals. It was about 31 years ago. And at the time, when I would ask a question without any prompting, my body would nod on its own for a yes, and it would shake its head for no. And then once in a while, I would get what I called the cosmic shrug. It would go to the right and stay there. And I took that to mean, doesn't matter. Should I have the salmon? It doesn't matter. Or the information isn't clear yet, or it's not for you to know. But soon after I started doing that, I went on this 4-week drive around England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. And all I had was this Let's Go UK and Ireland book. And of course, no cell phone. This was 92. And I had to make daily decisions about where to sleep and where to go and what to eat. And so I had a lot of fun building a foundation with this tool, this language, this trust within myself because of the track record, and just using it over and over. And I remember arguing with myself sometimes, thinking it's telling me to stay at this place, and I think this place looks better in the book. And because of course there was no internet, and it was all just me and the book and phone boxes and a car. So one time I thought, no, my knowing was insistent. And it even said not only one night, which was my usual, but stay for 2 nights. And I said, okay, because I was really developing this and playing with this, and it was right. It was the right thing. And I wanted to share that because I want you to find your own tools and language. My head doesn't do that so much anymore. It did for a long time, but now it's mostly an open breath, an expansion of my body, or a closing down and a clenching, a no for a no or a not. And this really came to the foreground about 4 years ago when I was looking for a place to live where I am now. And I would sometimes try to convince myself, well, that place, I could take that place, that could work. And I was immediately started getting this throat clenching, like just for a moment, wouldn't stop me from breathing. But a brief throat clench became a no. So I didn't ask for a new way of communicating with myself. It just evolved into that. And just wanted to let you know that can happen. And it's great to just play with it and see what happens. So, well, it's been my goal to tell you not just about inner knowing, but to invite you to wonder who you really are and how that relates to your information and your intelligence and your connection to everything, which is where information can come from. And to suggest why you might want to develop that. It comes from your awareness and your desire and your curious noticing if you're wanting that. You are the vastness of the universe and interconnected with everything. And you have access to your inner knowing and all kinds of knowing. And what facilitates that is a playful practice with that neutrality, awareness, and noticing and presence. So there's good news and there's better news. It's all you. This is about your personal journey of discovery and getting to know your internal language. And the possibilities are limitless. The choices and freedoms are yours for the taking. Let this be a lifelong process to get to better know your full self, body, mind, feelings, and messages. So if there are no questions, I'd love to hear from you what you might be taking away from this, what you might have learned that's new. Aha. Well, Linda's asking if there's a difference between inner knowing and say a pendulum for getting your information. I think any vehicle, any tool that works for you to get you to the place of something that is clear and reliable for you is great. I've played with pendulums. It could come through the tarot. It could come through astrology. These are all just portals of entry that might have to do with your personal preferences or your skills and talents and things that you're drawn to. So I think that's the similarity, is that they're all valid ways. And the difference is just the tool. And so Rhonda, thank you for that. Neutrality and calmness are key. I want to leave you with a quote from Jeff Foster. If Michelle, you could put that up.
You had a couple more questions. You want to take those first? We've got Skip and then Karen.
Okay, I was looking over at chat. Great. Yes. Sorry.
Hi, it looks like I've been spotlighted. Hey, Jody, I love this invitation, and I think I wanted to echo your response to Linda about portals, whether it be pendulum or tools like astrology or tarot, and having done those particular, especially astrology and tarot for 25 and 30 years, what I found is the one in me who is growing toward or evolving toward going direct, and that it's not one is better than the other. And I really appreciate you saying that using tools, it can be like, I don't know, looking with your eyes or looking with binoculars, you see different things. But I love this invitation to use our bodies as the, the tool we can't accidentally leave at home.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm working on that. I do want to do teleportation someday, but yeah, thanks, Skip. Hi, Karen.
Okay, here
There
I
you
am.
are. Yeah,
I was muted. Hey, this has been wonderful. I just really want to appreciate you. So
Thank you.
well done. It's
Oh.
beautifully shared with us and packed with great knowledge. So thank you so much.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
Yeah. So one of the things that I notice about my intuitive knowing, which I have it, and I've had it for a long time as well, and I've become more and more comfortable with it over time. However, I find that I recognize it on the back end rather than on the front end. And for some reason, I kind of want to speed it up. I kind of want to move it to, like present moment, I guess, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that person. And now they're asking me for a session. I haven't heard from them in years, and I should have known. This happens regularly. Former clients will contact me, and I have been thinking about them the weekend before, and out of nowhere, because I haven't thought of them. I honestly don't think about all my clients all the time, And so anyway, so that's one way that I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it in some other ways, but I'm curious about timing and about how to become more present with moving my knowing closer.
That sounds like a great intention to put out there, like a great wonder question.
Yeah, definitely.
Put out there. Yeah, I love that intention. Do
you have any tools, or I don't really need a tool, but anything else to say about how to here I go. I'm trying to speed it up, and I actually am happy with the way it is.
Aha.
But anyway, curious about that. Yeah.
Yeah, stay in curiosity.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I think we have time for one more question. Rhonda?
Thank you so much. Again, super helpful,
Okay.
Jody. And I found that sometimes I don't listen to, hunches that I'm getting, and then something, painful happens. And I go, oh, that was a hunch, And then it's like, okay, I'm really wanting to listen. And I get a little non-neutral about, about listening, and then there's some fear, and it's like, oh, I'm out of breathing and just being present. And that's why I said neutrality is like so important. Because there can be a taint of fear, like, oh, I want to keep myself from getting hurt again like that, you know? So again, you just say, and just do your best to just stay open. Can you say anything more about how you cultivate neutrality when there's I know a part in my psyche that can really move towards the fear aspect, and then I'm obviously not neutrality.
Yeah, there are, I was thinking about this, that there could be 1,000 different people doing 1,000 different hours on reclaim your inner knowing. So there are lots of teachers, lots of tools, lots of ways to come at this. And I was surprised what came up to put into the content of tonight, just letting it unfold. But the Hendricks Institute has fear melters.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a great way to move out of fear. And that's a great thing to, well, I should say, shift the energy, because fear is energy and it just moves the energy into something perhaps more comfortable, I would say. And it can also be a tool of awareness. If maybe you don't want to get on that flight, maybe fear can keep you, as it did for some people, from going to work on 9/11 and or something that would happen internally. So I think keep searching for the information from for various sources of coming back to presence. Coming to neutrality for me is really letting go of thinking anything should be anything.
Thank you. The thought.
Yep. Because right now we're about to have an election. People, well, you have to vote this because of this, and you have to vote this because of that, and they may not be the same position. And so there's not a neutrality there. And then there's what wants to happen in the universe. And so I can vote with neutrality and live with what is so in the moment.
I'm finding for me, a lot of times I'll get an image, and it seems sometimes the images or a feeling towards rather than a feeling away, kind of a body, ooh, I want to move towards or no. But a lot of times what I hear is more head stuff and more accurate with the body feeling towards or against, or the images I get. So kind of, it's like, how do I tone down the mind chatter so those ones that I do hear that are accurate are actually a little more in the foreground, and I don't have to wade through so much chatter.
Yeah, I do think the is really great, because it does physiologically takes you out of reactive brain and into creative brain. And there, you can't get new solutions when you're in reactive brain, but you can when you're in creative brain, and then that openness. But also the focusing on your senses. If you were to stop and really concentrate on a flower and describe it to yourself, you can't be also necessarily thinking about whatever is upsetting you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So try all of your senses and hear what you hear, see what you see, feel what you feel, and with touch and smell. And
thank you so much. This has been so helpful.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, we are at the top of the hour. What an amazing hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you put up that one last quote, and then we'll call it a night?
Oh, yeah. Sounds good. All right. Let me do that.
I really like this one. Maybe this will, and I'm visual, so I like to read it and hear it. So here's the paradox of change. When we tire of inner violence, when we no longer argue with the way things are, we fully inhabit the present. Oh, when we fully inhabit the present scene in the movie of our lives, we come to rest. And then from rest and a deep connection to the now, new vistas open up, hitherto unexplored, possibilities are revealed, and new solutions emerge. And I love Katie's quote of the fastest way to go crazy is to think you're having the wrong experience. So yeah, you can take that quote away. But so if when you think you're having the wrong experience, you're arguing with reality, versus if you're not having the wrong experience, then you're having the right experience. And who would you be if you believe that? And that's a great way to shift your perception.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jody. Thanks
You're welcome.
for being willing to bring your energy and your wisdom and your joy to the Big Leap Bridge. So appreciate it. And this recording will go up. It might take a couple weeks, but it'll be up. And if you subscribe to the Hendricks Institute YouTube channel, then you'll get a notification. And again, I want to remind everyone that you can join our network. I'm just looking to find the link, and I'll put it in case you joined late. You might not have that link here. So I'll put that in. And I posted Jody's information. So if you want to get in touch with Jody, I put it in the chat. And thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for showing up. And if you want to unmute and say goodbye.
And if you have questions, let me know. For being here, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jody.
Thanks so much, Jody.
Michelle.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Hi, Skip. Good to see you. Mwah.
See you.
Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.